All right, I got my motor in the back. We're heading to old Ron's shop, Northwest Auto and Machine, so that way he can get started on cutting her down and machining for all the new sleeves that are going to go into it. So I think we decided we're going to put 8 sleeves in it. They have to be flange sleeves because of where it is actually broken in the block. So he's going to get it all machined up, and my crank's already there. I just gotta get rods and pistons ordered now, so I gotta make a little more money, and then my motor can get put together. Pretty freaking excited. This is gonna be a badass motor. It's gonna be all mine.
I can hear the demons call when they do what they do, and now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through, I just gotta get through. Cause I feel like taking off, find a place with a view.
Welcome back. It is time to get back on Uncle Sam. We have a front end now. We have steering, we have struts, a wheel, everything I need. We have strut jigs, everything I have, or everything I need to put, to set the struts, set the strut cups, do the front down bars, do the steering, do the front plate, literally everything. I've got it all. I just have to find the time now. So I'm going to unpack everything that is packed around Uncle Sam. And I'm going to unboard the front end. It's got a board on it. And I got to get the front end semi where it's going to be. Semi set the wheel, check, make sure everything's level, set the strut cups, do a bunch of stuff that I have no idea how to do. So it's going to be a lot of just kind of placing things, seeing if that's where I want them or that's where they're going to need to go. And then kind of going from there, using my laser level, all that good stuff. So I'm going to start cleaning this area up, and then I'm going to get to work to see if I can't get something done on Uncle Sam tonight. Like I said, trying to do the hour a day. I haven't been doing it because I've been traveling so much. So it is time to get back on Uncle Sam because I need to go racing.
The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. Sometimes I feel like all is lost, but I know it's not true. I wanna put up all my walls cause I'm not in the mood, but then I cut myself off from the rest of the room. I know that time can heal it all if you're patient and soon.
So I got my Bickle book out because I literally just have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm going to go to this, which says wheelbase stagger, set up a car, blah, 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 front end stuff. So I'm going to look through this to see if it can give me any advice on track width and all that stuff, because once again, I just have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm going to try to set my caster. I gotta set the track width. And first I gotta place that where it's going. So that's my first job that I have no idea what I'm doing. So stay tuned. All right, I talked to Brad Sneeders from Tin Soldiers. And I talked to Big Chief. But Brad was the one that gave me the info that I needed. He said if your front end, you can either measure off the frame rails right there or the bottom of your front end, which the bottom of my front end is literally slid between my frame rails and this chassis jig. So the bottom of my front end is the bottom of the frame rails. He said measure, you want your ride height to keep this 3 inches off the ground. So if I'm running a 26-inch tire, divide that in half, that's 13. If I want 3 inches off the ground, then that means this should be 10 inches above this. So if I set my laser level right here, or just put a level on this right here, measure 10 inches up, that is the height at which I set the spindle. And then I can measure my track width in the rear end, make these in just a little bit further, so that way the front end isn't making the rear end do this. Set this back 10 degrees, which is probably a lot less than what I have it here, but it gives me somewhere to go off of. And then put my strut cup on here, landed the strut cups, and we're back in business, boys. We could have a roller in no time. And I say that in every video, but this is exciting. It's really starting to look like a car. I got the front end. I just very haggardly lined up the doors with this front end, but it actually lined up pretty well. So that way that puts this at the angle that it needs to be. These, for some reason, are at quite a downward angle, but it might just be part of molding. It might be the way that this is bowed. I have no idea. But either way, the doors are lined up. The front is at the bottom of my frame rails right there. So now I have something to measure off of and do my front struts. Very exciting.
I'll be worth it, all the searching. Pain is never really permanent, but damn it hurts, man. I could feel all of the turbulence and it's concerning. I've been searching for a purpose, I hope it's worth it. This society is really trying me. Ain't no hide and seek, I hide to be far from anxiety. I need my space, I need my privacy.
Okay, so after talking with Brad, and then I stared at this thing for the past 45 minutes and did a bunch of measuring. It's funny, the car never ceases to amaze me of how well this car was built, but I'm gonna show you right here. So, frame rail, you know, this top of this bar is bottom of the frame rail. This is 3 inches thick. Bottom frame rail, 3 inches down. So if this is at the bottom of my frame rail, 3 inches down, this is where the bottom of my tire should be. This piece right here, total, is 13.25. So and this right here is 10 inches from the bottom of here to the center of here. That's 10 inches. So if I cut this weld here, take this piece off, set it on top of here, then that gives me my exact ride height, 13 inches. That puts this 10 inches from the bottom of the frame rail. Still gives me 3 inches for ride height, which ends up being perfect. But it's funny, as soon as I put this here, if you can see, my laser level is right here. With this pointed right here, it's exactly centered or perfectly level with the back tire, which is, I just think is hilarious. But it really makes everything, like measuring everything, super easy because I have reference points and I know exactly where the bottom of this is, the bottom of the frame rail, where I want the tire to be now. So I'm pretty happy. This worked out pretty well. So I'm just gonna cut this. Oh, and I measured, you know, I got my laser here. So I put my level to where touch my laser here and here, measured the distance. So this is 30 inches on the wheel well. And this right here, where I guessed, was literally 16 inches. So it's 1 inch staggered forward, which I'm gonna make this one 1 inch further forward than that one. So I guessed legit, like literally perfectly dead center, 16 inches. So looks like that's what we're gonna go with. I marked this here. I'm gonna mark this here and then cut this off, put a piece of this square tubing right here coming out so that way I can set this wherever I want, tack this in place, and then I can set my strut cup, run a tube, and then actually literally get this side done. Probably won't get it done tonight, but I feel like I'm making major progress because I actually am getting references and my math is lining up, which is a scary thing when my math lines up. But it's all making sense to me, and I'm getting a game plan, and I know why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it, and that's the actual right way to do it. So pretty exciting.
Silence, please, you're all too loud, you don't speak quietly. Opinions violently thrown across every surface, it makes me nervous. Is the world honestly burning? That's all I'm learning. So I cut this off.
Now, cutting a little stub of that square tube to set off the chassis jig, like set off the chassis jig, kind of like this. That way I can set this there, like that. And then that gives me my three, you know, from the bottom of this down is the chassis jig. That's the bottom of my tire, so that gives me the exact height of what I need. So I got a plan, and I'm doing it. It's working good. Come on. Time to get old Trusty out. Look at that thing. I don't even know what year that thing was made, but my dad told me he bought it way before I was born. That is what I built my original Malibu with. That is what I put the cage in it with. That's what my dad put his cage in that red Chevelle you saw the last video. He put the cage in that with that thing. He said he bought it way before I was born. It's been around forever. So it's probably 35, 40 years old. And it still runs like a champ, boy. Now I'm getting ready to use it to tack this bad boy on. Or just weld it on, so. Come on.
We can make a turn and start reversing. All our minds, you put the work in. We got some work, man. I started to through, gotta get through. I started to through, gotta get through. I can hear the demons call when they do what they do. And now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all. I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through. Cause I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all. I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through. Gotta get through this, life is a nuisance, tie up some loose ends. I try to be human, find a solution, my evolution. A place like this, it didn't exist, we made it like this. So you can go pick the bad or the good.
Slight problem. These struts are too long to set them the way I'm setting them. Here's the problem. That's what the shock all the way bottomed out. It's sitting above my fender line, so I'm either gonna have to raise the ride height, which honestly, I mean, it could use it a little bit, because that's slammed, which obviously I want it to be slammed, but I may end up having to use those other struts that I have that don't have as much travel. I don't know. I just don't know. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna make a decision here in a second. Whether I use that strut or that strut. Probably end up using that strut. And then going from there. And then if I ever put these on, I'll just have to raise the ride height a little bit. Or a lot of it. I don't know. Time will tell. So I've got that strut leaned back 10 degrees. I'm just going to measure, see how far down, because this is about how much shaft I want showing at ride height. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to take it down at least 4 inches. So that would make that front end 7 inches off the ground, which seems really high. So I'm not real sure exactly what I'm gonna do yet, because those struts have like no travel in them. So this is the deciding point. If I use those, I'll probably never race small tire, because I just feel like it's impossible to get it to work with no travel. Like, I could do it with less than 12 inches, but trying to do it with 2 inches just ain't enough, but that's just not enough. So we'll see. But Alan Pete's King gave me these struts, so if I don't use them, he can obviously have them back and sell them. But it's not that they're not perfectly good and awesome struts. It's just these have more travel. And I'd really like to have a little more travel. So we'll see how I can make it work from here out. All right, so I changed to the other struts that Pete's King gave me. And with them almost all the way bottomed out and my strut cup all the way bottomed out, it's still just barely, it'll barely clear. So this is still as high up as it'll possibly go. So if I ever go with a longer strut, I'm just going to have to raise the ride height of the car, which will throw off my crank angle and all that stuff. But for now, this is where it's going to have to go. This is where it's going to go. And that's just going to be that. So that's where she's going. I got it at 10 degrees, but that thing already turned off because I went and sat and got on Facebook for a while and made a Facebook post. So yeah, that's where she's going to go right there. And that should still put this front, or actually this piece right here, this high off the ground. Because the bottom of this represents the bottom of my tire. So that's where that's gonna go. And then obviously it'll probably end up being, once I adjust to get at least another inch or so out of this, or a half inch at least, this will probably be 4 inches off the ground, which isn't gonna be as low as it was, but to be honest, it was way too low anyways, because I just watched the video of my wreck. And when I pedaled the car, it literally dumped the nose enough to where this part of the chin hit the ground and it almost ricocheted the car up, and it's like the whole car came up, shot left, and obviously you guys know the rest. That was the end of it. So going to get the front end up a little bit, going to get more down travel on the shocks, so that way it doesn't hit the bump stop and bottom out on travel so bad.
We got fire. He is on fire. Send fire down here, I guess.
So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and set it there. I'm gonna set the other strut, and then it's time to run some bars. Yes. Bow, chick, bow, bow. It's gonna be awesome. All right, I got the other side, the other strut set. Now that strut is 1 inch further back than the driver's side, so I got a 1 inch stagger in the wheelbase. That kind of helps out for not going red more or less on the instant green, stuff like that. These strut cups are freaking awesome. So they got this little spacer, they got another spacer, a bushing inside. They slide down on there, and then you put your nut down on top of there. Bada boom, bada bing. But then you have all this adjustability. I mean, you literally have 2 inches of adjustability in these things or more. And Hammer gives you this little tool. So it's got this tool. So you got this, which is a spanner for down here, how you lock them in place. Then you have this tool that goes on the bottom of goes on the ratchet. Stick down there and you can spin it. So that makes adjusting the ride height once the car's on the ground way easier. So now that I got both the struts set and I got them both angled back 10 degrees of caster, I can take the old front end off now, although it looks so good on there. And I'm going to run a bar from there to back to here, from the front of here down to there, same thing over there. But I'm going to now, I believe, bolt a mock-up motor in, mock-up heads, put both the headers on, the hot side, the turbos. That way I don't run any bars in the way of anything. And I think I'm going to end up having to cut both these bars out and then do bars from, they said I should do a bar from down here up to here, up to this bar, which is like, I guess how most pro mods and, you know, tube chassis cars have it these days. So I guess depending on where my turbos sit and how much that influences the placement of those may determine whether I just cut these off and redo these or whether I move them out. Because right now, these give me a lot of room back here where my turbos are. And if I run a bar up from here, it actually might run right through where my turbo and downpipe and everything goes. So I don't know why they do it like that, or if it's stronger, or if they, I think they do it to give more room for headers, but if I do it like that, it gives me less room for turbos. So yeah, a lot of progress tonight. I'm pretty happy with myself. At the beginning of the night, I had no idea what I was doing, where to measure from, or basically anything. And just by talking to a few good people, reading a book that's on the floor now, right there on accident, reading a book and doing some measuring and basic geometry, I got both my struts set. Look at that. Every time I do something, every time I add something, I could literally stand here and stare at it for 2 hours just because like I just love progress. Progress is just, to me, is just so rewarding, especially fab work progress, because I think I understand and I appreciate how much effort it takes to go into making everything line up and the creativity that goes into all the stuff, especially into a race car. So, man, makes me excited. So I'm not sure how much more I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to clean up a little bit. I made a mess over here. And then I'll probably go in and edit this video so that way I can give you guys an update video on what I'm doing. And we can keep on keeping on, as I always say. So hope you guys enjoyed me learning a little bit. Hopefully I did at least a decent enough job of explaining what I did and why I did it to where you can grasp it a little bit. Because I told Brad Sneeders, from Tin Soldiers, he's the one that helped me tonight, that he's pretty good at speaking idiot because I don't know any other language besides idiot. So he's good at putting things in idiot terms to where I can understand them. So it made it a lot easier for me. So hopefully my idiot terms can transfer over into whatever language you guys understand, and you can at least know somewhat what I was talking about. If you guys are in the market for some strut cups, go over to Hammer Concepts and Designs. Everything he has is awesome, badass, and very unique. And these things are really cool. So it's gonna give me just that much more adjustment, that much more rigidity, and options for changing all the stuff that I want to change if it needs change once I set crank height, angle, all that stuff, which obviously matters a whole lot in a car that you want to go fast in. So sorry, I keep zooming in and out, but I keep panning because I love the way this thing freaking looks, man. It looks awesome. I can't wait to get the turbos back in there. I'm just so excited. I love it.
I know it's easier to hide than just to lay low. Not everyone in life has got a halo. I'm standing in the red inside a payphone. Just wanna break, no, I'm not gonna give in. Take a last shot, Michael J. Win. No, I'm not a robot, I'm in my own skin. Never get lost when thoughts pull you in. I miss the old you, we died with a purpose. All the energy around me felt nervous. Scared I would pop out fast to the surface. Had to cut it off before you made me worthless. Torn apart, I've been torn and scarred. I had a given art, but now I'm thinking smart. I'm keeping up my guard, I'm hiding every card. A royal flush of love, you never know what's